This is an ABC News special report.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We are coming on the air for a celebration of life honoring former First Lady Rosalynn Carter. A memorial service is now underway at Glenn Memorial Church at Emory University there in Atlanta, Georgia. Former President Jimmy Carter making a rare public appearance, arriving just moments ago. The former president, now 99 years old, currently under hospice care, but he was determined to be here today. As you know, the Carters were inseparable during their time together. Jimmy and Rosalynn, both childhood sweethearts, married for 77 years. He said that they were equal partners in everything he accomplished. Rosalynn Carter remembered a lifetime of public service, humanitarian work, improving mental health services, and helping transform the role of First Lady. Also attending today's service, President Biden and current First Lady Jill Biden, the Clintons, Michelle Obama, former First Lady Melania Trump making a rare public appearance. Mrs. Carter died at the age of 96. Her private funeral is set for tomorrow at the small town church in Plains, Georgia, where the former president taught Sunday school for many years. Then Rosalynn Carter will be buried at the Carter's home near the pond where she and her husband used to fish together. Let's get right to ABC's Steve Osunsami there in Atlanta, right by the Carter Center, as he's watching these remarkable pictures as well. There was a difference in opinion, Steve, as to whether the former president should be there, but he was determined to be there, right there in the front row, and he won.
He won. He absolutely won. He wanted to say goodbye in front of all of these distinguished people from around the world, former world leaders. He had a new suit made because his old suit didn't fit him well. His family members sort of prepared us for seeing him on this occasion. You can see that he has gotten older. He is in hospice care, as you've shared. He is 99 years old, hoping to make it to 100. But, you know, when we last talked with him a couple of years ago, he talked about how marrying Rosalynn was the best decision of his life. And she talked about what a wonderful journey that she was on with him and how they were getting through the sunset of their lives by going through that period together. So it is, of course, heartbreaking to see the former president watching his wife from this distance, but at the same time heartwarming because you know that he loved her so.
So true, Steve. And you had the last television interview they ever gave, and you were able to observe that and be a part of that love in that final interview. I want to bring in ABC's contributor and also Washington Post reporter Mary Jordan, who has covered the Carters for decades. And Mary, as we look at these pictures, I know you're looking at the former president saying, do not underestimate him. He is all there mentally, even though physically he may not look so well. I think that is a remarkable point to make. In addition to, as you have covered all the first ladies and you have written the book, seeing them all sitting there together, each one of them owing something to Rosalynn Carter.
Well, first on Jimmy Carter, it is, I talked to Jason Carter, the grandson, just before the service began this morning. He'll be speaking at it. And he said that, you know, right after Rosalynn passed away, his grandfather, Jimmy, was what he called, he said, deep sorrow. And another family member said he was almost silent for the first few days. But they both said that he has rallied now, and everyone has told him how proud they are because he got what he wanted. He really wanted, because Rosalynn had dementia, and he felt that he should outlive her and protect her. And he set that as a goal, and he's pretty proud of it. And so recently he's rallied and he said, I'm going to go, I'm going to do this. And he's eating again. And most of all, he's sharp. I mean, physically, he was in much worse shape than his wife was. And, you know, sadly, her mind had all kinds of problems with cognitive decline. And yet he's watching the news. He's watching the next presidential election. He's watching baseball games. As you see him there, he sure looks frail, but this guy who came out of nowhere from the South, from a farm, to be a naval officer and then a president and then a world leader who won a Nobel Prize, still remains sharp. And then the other picture there, which is really, I don't think any of us should underestimate in these times of bitter political division, the fact that Melania Trump is standing there says something important. It's, first of all, Rosalynn herself wanted to make sure that despite the political differences between the Trumps and the Carters, Jimmy Carter has criticized her husband, Donald Trump, saying that he was undermining democracy by saying that the elections are not fair. And in turn, Trump has really ridiculed Jimmy Carter. He said he was a lousy president and worse. And so Rosalynn said, times like this are important. The office of the First Lady, the office of the President is something, it can come and go, Republican, Democrat. We all have our differences, but we have to pull together. And her family said that she specifically hoped that all the First Ladies who were alive would show. And we see there that we do have Republicans and Democrats, and they did indeed show a kind of a wish for Rosalynn Carter.
Mary, thank you. I want to bring in our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz. She's here in Washington. And Martha, undoubtedly, what we have observed about Rosalynn Carter since the age of 13, when it was just her and her mom after her father had passed, he wanted to see so much more for her, this young Southern girl in a small town. He wanted her to do well in high school, and he wanted her to be educated and for her horizons to become so much more beautiful than what he could give her at the time. And she did that indeed. She not only persevered, but when she met Jimmy Carter, this handsome young Naval Academy student, it changed both of their lives forever.
It certainly did. Her horizons were endless when she was young. I can't imagine her father ever imagined where she would end up. And of course, marrying Jimmy Carter, she got out of Plains, Georgia. He was in the Navy. He was a submariner. And by the way, the submariners are generally introverts, not Jimmy Carter. He was outgoing and warm and wonderful, and is to this day. But Rosalynn Carter loved being a Navy wife, and that is very difficult. She didn't want to come back to Plains, Georgia. She was finally away from her mom and away from Jimmy Carter's mom, and being very independent, especially as a Navy wife. And they argued about that, Jimmy Carter and Rosalynn, about wanting to go back to Plains. He had to go back and run the peanut farm. It's not what she wanted to do. But boy, when she got back, she put her heart into everything. And when she became First Lady, you know, seeing all those First Ladies together and what Rosalynn Carter meant to them, how she paved the way in so many ways for them to be independent First Ladies, to have their own projects. And there were others before, but Rosalynn Carter really, really made a difference in what she cared about. She was a full partner to Jimmy Carter. She is that one person who told him when she thought he might be wrong or that he might think about something in a different way. And his respect for her was so vast and so deep. When she spoke, he listened. Kira?
And he is listening to his family now, giving remarks and final thoughts there inside the church. Martha, thank you so much. And before we return you to regular programming, we have more breaking news to bring to you right now. We understand that more hostages have now been released. 12 hostages, including 10 Israelis and 2 foreign nationals. They are on their way toward Israeli territory right now. We are looking at these pictures just coming in to ABC News. Let's get right to our Matt Gutman, who is there in Israel. Matt, as we watch these pictures, tell us what we know.
Kara, we know, just as you said, that 12 hostages have been released from Hamas, handed over to the Red Cross. In southern Gaza, we saw the convoy of the Red Cross driving right near the border with Egypt. We understand right now from the Israeli military that they are headed to Israeli territory. There they will be met by a specialized Israeli military unit that has training in dealing with hostages. They'll transfer them to an army base here and then to hospitals in Israel. This is the 5th release in 5 consecutive days. That ceasefire continues to hold for a 5th consecutive day. That, as we understand, CIA Director Burns is in Doha trying to negotiate an extended hostage release period along with an extended ceasefire. Whatever the mechanism is that they are using, it is working. It took a little bit longer over the past couple of days, but this system is working. Hamas, of course, also getting the respite of those 5 days of ceasefire, plus the release of 3 Palestinian prisoners for every Israeli released. So it's over 150 at this point, we understand. And also that allows for the massive influx of aid trucks, at least 200 a day, not enough, but certainly more than it was in the early days of the war. And that has been critical because we understand the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is immense. The UN now saying there are over 1.8 million people who are displaced, 1.1 million, Kira, who are sheltered by the UN alone. Hunger is apparently endemic right now. Infectious diseases also increasing at a very rapid rate, Kira.
And as we watch these pictures, Matt, clearly the elderly, you can see that the most concern has been about the elderly. As we get these pictures, you can see them being brought in by stretchers, also the concern over the children and the health of those as well. We will continue to follow these pictures as they come in, as once again, another group of hostages have been released by Hamas as we enter this ceasefire now in its 5th day. We're going to return to the regular network programming. Our coverage will continue right now with me on ABC News Live. You can also find us on abcnews.com. And of course, David Muir and the entire team will have a complete wrap up on all the news that's been breaking today on World News Tonight. I'm Kira Phillips. So glad you've been with us.
This has been a special report from ABC.